Right, it is currently 11:59 a.m. and as usual, I remain at what is 1810 leasing offices near us, building 1810 North Alvarado Street in Los Angeles, California. I want you to look at all of the light activity in addition to the placement, which is an impossibility, while I provide an ongoing analytical framework for what is comparing two separate venues and also isolating the universe, which the entity does while it keeps a light source over me all day long. And it is replete with what is impossible light activity. This is light that is behaving in an unnatural manner, and that's what you're looking at here, light that's coming through the crack of the door. The light itself takes on the form of that which it's piercing through underneath what is a structure. I just want to be clear again. This is the crack of the door. The crack of the door is underneath a covered structure, in addition to that sunlight that's coming from the sun that's above us, not hovering over us and not creating what is laser-like conduct. So the light is coming down. So I'm giving an illustration. The sun is above us. Light comes down at a downward trajectory. This is engaging in what is not only underneath the structure, but the light that would be coming downward is piercing through, and it's like this. The light takes on a form and it folds flat on the ground. That's what this is. This is impossible light. It's totally illogical. Okay. In addition, it hits objects and it creates the shape of what it's hitting. This is engineered light. It's reaching in underneath a covered structure and through a doorway, underneath a doorway. Okay. This is engineered light, and it's speaking to the presence of a light source. This is pacing. You've got one crossing path here and one crossing path there. These are demons. This is the ongoing activity creation and the immediate environment. If you haven't paid attention, also, the entity is using these water pipes right here. When I start recording, when I engage in movement, this is used as a means of stalking with audible activity creation. You can pay attention to the details. A lot of stuff I don't point out because upon analyzing it at a later date, this is the ability for the federal government for the government that is going to be the federal government that's going to be handling prosecution and understanding what an entity is doing and its demonic behaviors, understanding what the behaviors of the entity and the environment. It's the absence of a coincidence in the specific environment. All right, methods of creating activity with simultaneity to what you're doing. The entity uses inanimate objects. This is literally the personification of that which is demonic, and it's the use of any and everything around you. This is what I've documented, the use of my television, all right, for purposes of creating activity. It's very, very sick, very, very creepy, okay? It's occurring in a specific environment, but nonetheless, the time stamp I'm using, 11:59 a.m., and this is because I have on March 6, 2022, where the entity is maintaining a light source over me. You already know what's going on here in Alvarado Gardens, and so with what the entity has been doing, I let you know before I provided this this documentation, which you will juxtapose with regard to the so-called natural environment. You are looking at that which the entity was doing day in and day out. Okay, we're keeping a light source, as asinine, as illogical, as blatantly unnatural as it is. All I am doing now is giving you a vivid illustration. It's also speaking to what is impossible, because the entity is the entity is suggesting that the sun is also at the same time in an entirely different location based on documentation. All right, this is the ability to prove it, that the sun is hovering over an entirely different address, and not just over that address, but again, my documentation is complete because it remains over me, and I went to the extent of staying at the particular address for the duration of the day, meaning at all times of the day. I'm documenting the presence of this light source, which is not possibly the sun. So while you already know what the entity is doing, that which is impossible to be the case, speaking to what is, the prima facie case of federal group stalking and monitoring, an entity that is keeping a specific environment around you while they are targeting you, and that is criminal while a government is operating that, and it is maliciously doing it with those that are all around you, and they are also of a specific and legally relevant condition, and that is demon possession. Demons engage in what is specific behavior in this environment. That demonic behavior in and of itself by people who surround you is terrorism. Okay, these are freak weirdos, to put in layman's terms, and they are targeting you. Psychopaths that look to the left and the right, engaging in passive aggressive targeting, that's terrorism. That's a weirdo. All right, you know that you're being monitored. You know that they're engaged in targeting you, and they like to do it while nobody is persuaded, nobody is fooled anymore. You're not ignorant anymore about what they're doing. Psychopaths do it while the entity is stalking by helicopter, and they're looking left to right like they're doing anything other than that creepiness, that weirdness. All right, that psychotic delusion, that's terrorism. The whole entity engages in that. Okay, the entity is engaging in, and it's legally referred to as what is malice. But the entity is keeping a light source at 11:59. This is building 1810. Okay. If you recall my documentation just the other day, at 3:44 p.m., I was reminding you about the placement of the light source at 3:44 p.m. over me in its zenith, just like this, while I am in Ontario at 2301 South Euclid Avenue. The entity is group stalking in helicopter. All right, the sun is not over me here, remaining over me here all day long until 3:44. And in that video at 3:44 p.m., which I captured, you saw at the end of my video when I walked over here, the light source was on the same part of this building. Remember, it was over here as I started, and then while I was getting LAPD that was group stalking, the entity starts freaking out when I start exposing them and pointing out very damning evidence, specifically when I'm getting the state directly. But while I'm getting the state directly group stalking a helicopter, understand I'm getting the entity that's stalking vicariously through the people. They're one entity, they're one actor, okay? But the entity has the light source on the same side of the building that I captured after 3:44 p.m. Pay attention to that. The entity is maintaining a light source today, March 15, 2024 at 11:59 a.m. Over me stationary, which you already know is pursuant to the pattern of conduct. This is already showing what is never the case of being a natural environment. The question is why? The entity is engaging in a pattern of conduct as you're looking at the light source over me at the Ontario Village Center in Ontario, California. After having left the farmers market, which was the pattern of conduct underway, the entity referring to it as the farmers market. So they can call it whatever they want. It's demonic activity. It's in the specific environment. All elements remain present, and it is demonic. It's demonic in every regard. So you're understanding what is the malicious guise under which this criminal system is ceaselessly underway. You are looking also and understanding that which is wicked, which may very well smile in your face. Okay? You're not fooled by that. And it is, let me be clear, that is in no way lessening the threat posed to your life. They are the government. They are placing you under surveillance. They are targeting you. That is not any less of a threat because a third-party group stalker is smiling or holding a child and not talking to you while they're monitoring you. That's malice. That level of malice is a threat to your life. This is how the government is doing it maliciously. And at 11:59 a.m., there is no point ever at any time of year that I will be able to see the sun that's hovering over in my head at that address at the Ontario Village Shopping Center at 11:59 at the same exact time. No, that's not the sun. It wasn't the sun then, and it's not the sun now. And it is impossible that the two would be occurring at the same time. What I am capturing is the presence of a light source. And this light source remains in its zenith over me while I am subject to a criminal system which is demonic in nature. The pattern of stalking with light, this is what the people of the state do. They mimic this same demonic conduct. This is occurring in the environment. They engage in the same demonic conduct while they are stalking with activity creation by crossing path. They're creating light activity. And this is how they stalk in the path with light. They use their vehicles. All right. They use any manifestation of light. When I was homeless, by the way, many demons would stalk in the path using their lighters, using bicycles with flashlights on them. This is the demonic behavioral pattern. Any manifestation of light, it's demonic. It's in the engineered light. The engineered light is we're in an environment where this is not normal light. And they stalk in the path with some method of light. They also do it with simultaneity to what you're doing, okay, as you do it. And or any operation of a communication device. That's the definition. That's the rule. Okay? The entity is always engaging in the same exact pattern. The entity is doing this with regard to my location at the Ontario Village Shopping Center in Ontario, California, where the entity is hovering with the light source over me at that same parking lot. And I want to be clear, I've documented that venue at the beginning of the day where the sun is rising and at the end of the day where the sun is, yes, setting at that venue. None of that is occurring at the same time. This is showing what is providing what is the ongoing maintenance of a specific environment while the people of the state are monitoring in concert with that public entity. And it is replete with group stalking by plane and helicopter. All right. And in that video, you will see third-party group stalker Amazon Prime hovering over an commercial airline plane. And doing so coincidentally after I am capturing still images of a third-party group stalker representing Amazon Prime. Amazon Prime is nothing other than the people of the state utilizing a commercial brand. It is referred to what it shall be prosecuted as the malicious guise under which federal group stalking and monitoring is occurring. The people use where they live, where they work, where they're visiting, where they're shopping, where they're eating, wherever it is that they're at while the system remains underway. And they don't have to talk to you. You don't have to know their name. They're engaging in the criminal elements of monitoring. And I want to be clear, the demon possessed know exactly who you are. Okay, that demented spirit that is on them is specifically aware of who you are. All right, and their demonic behavior is that which is terrorizing. And it is entirely peculiar, especially when you have been informed about the significance of where you're at and the significance of what they're doing and the knowledge that they maintain as they do it. That's terrorism, okay? When you realize you're being surrounded and that they are in every way targeting you by their behavior, by their presence, and by their activity creation. So I want to be clear, 11:59 a.m. is used as a timestamp again because the entity on March 6, 2022 is pursuing in its zenith as I travel from the Ontario Town Square then to what is down Hope Boulevard, and the entity is keeping a light source over me over the parking lot of the Ontario Village Shopping Center while I'm adjacent to the Stater Brothers. This is not visible from 1810 North Alvarado Street. This is not the single sun that we're told that we have. I can't see this, and this is the people in Ontario in the parking lot are not looking at the same object. Okay, it's getting ridiculous. All right, this is the asininity with which the entity is engaging in a system that you have to be nothing other than oblivious to it because it's not intelligent. It's not even realistic. Okay, it's totally impossible. So the entity is maintaining a light source over me at Alvarado Gardens, and the entity has all but, I literally don't even have to say anything anymore with regard to showing the pattern of conduct and the environment. The Los Angeles Police Department is continuous, and the people of the state are continuously engaging in that which is tending to suggest that exactly what I have contended is in fact the case, okay? They continue to engage in that, and I want you to pay attention to the background. What's going on here is patrolling. The entity is repeatedly crossing path, as I've been capturing this video, repeatedly crossing path by planes. This is the third one. That's the demonic method of crossing path, and they're doing so in commercial airline planes. That's demonic activity. So I want to be clear, those with commercial pilots that have these licenses, this is the type of thing that the federal government is going to look into. This is a state system. So you're talking about every airport. You're talking about those that have such credentials. And well, with regard to, you can even narrow it down to, if you want to limit it, but I wouldn't, with regard to those that are in possession of such licenses where I've documented the pattern of conduct. The Ontario airport, the Los Angeles airport, the Burbank airport, you're talking about that's covering a lot of ground. You're talking about a massive necessity for paying attention to those that have such credentials, because those are demon possessed group stalkers that are flying planes. They are holding lives of American citizens in their hands, and they're engaging in terrorism. They're flying helicopters, of course. That's the department, readily identifiable. It's also the fire department. They fly helicopters as well, group stalking, and I've also captured that. Flying directly over my head, threatening my life while I'm documenting third-party group stalkers. That's going to be dealt with. But I'm just bringing to your attention any and everything, every aspect that the federal government needs to be aware of with regard to the operation of the system and the demon possessed in all of the areas that they are present, engaging and facilitating this criminal system, using planes and helicopters. Be informed. And that's what's going on in the background. And with simultaneity to my documenting that and bringing up those details, you heard the amplified audible activity. These are the demons that arrive on the property, and then Impossible Light is swiping all across the property. FedEx is a heavily documented third-party group stalker. That's criminal facilitation that's being documented. While this one drives out and this one drives in, and this is called patrolling. This is demonic, what you're looking at. They're going in opposite directions. This is what they're accomplishing in the engineered light. This is a demon. His name is Ty Lee of 1800-5. This is a demon that's in the engineered light, reversing and going forward. And that's exactly what Ledesma was doing the other day with Universal Waste Incorporated. You have a commercial actor coming on the grounds, acting with the demon-possessed group stalkers who live here. This is not an ongoing coincidence, especially in the specific environment. The entity engages in this demonic behavior. Again, this is the method. You're looking at them freaking out. Okay, they engage in this demonic behavior. These are the psychopaths. They need mental assistance. They really do. They need examination. They need help. Okay, and I am not even being hyperbolic. I'm not being funny. I know I laugh a lot, but I'm actually serious, because they engage in this demonic behavior. The more that I expose them, when I bring up information that, oh my goodness, she's talking about this, they'll start freaking out in planes and helicopters. You have the entity crossing path repeatedly by airplane in the distance. Pay attention to that. And then they start pacing all around. They're monitoring. You already know where they're at. Okay, this is the same thing that Ledesma was doing, Universal Waste. So you saw FedEx engaging it with what is Ty Lee. All right, it is currently 12:13 p.m. and that's the one that's going to be deported. All right, it is currently again 12:13 p.m. where you see her crossing path, and this is a psychopath who is showing aggression while crossing path and smiling. Okay, she's monitoring me, and she knows that that's the same way while LAPD was group stalking by helicopter. She was walking out of the front in engineered light, and her roommate was driving by me. All the grounds of impossible light activity. Impossible light activity was all over the ground. After I got through describing how asinine and how unintelligent the system actually is. All right, that's a demon-possessed actor. That's called malice. All right, and she likes to threaten my life with LAPD. She's going to be deported out of this country. I don't believe that they're natural-born citizens. They may have been granted the privilege to be here. And if that's not the case, if they are, she's going to federal prison. All right, she's a sicko, and she's engaging in what is monitoring me while she's walking by. Okay, and she does so with knowledge of the fact of what I'm documenting. And the reason why I expound on this information is because you need to understand the malice of the entity. It's malice. Okay, it's all malice. It is currently 12:14 p.m. There is no sun, contrary to what I documented over my head at the Ontario Village Center. All right, in Ontario, California. All right, the timestamp is 11:59 a.m. and that's captured on March 6, 2022. And that is the P.O.C.